Welcome to Trading Ideas for the week of May 16th, 2022. I believe this puts life in perspective and what a past 4 months that we've had. I want to wait to see the Chinese numbers coming out and for the trading ideas and looking at the calendar. It was really important to see how the China's retail sales and industrial production looked, of course, with the shutdowns in Shanghai and Beijing and the attitude of the government. I thought it was very important to see what happened. And as you can see, the consensus for the industrial production was 0.4%, and we came at negative 2.9, and retail sales were supposed to be at negative 6.1, and they came worse than 11.1%. So China is very important. The policies are important, what is happening. So we want to pay attention. And with those numbers, it opens the door what's going to happen for the rest of the week. And there will be a common theme for this week. You will see that there's a lot to do again with a lot of central bank presidents and members speaking, as well as retail sales, not only the numbers, but also earnings in the retail department, as well as the housing and constructions and the permits. So with that in mind, you can keep that in mind. And of course, we have the inflation as always, which is a common theme globally. So on Monday, we have Canada's housing starts, and Australia will have the Reserve Bank of Australia. They will have their meeting minutes after they had the biggest rate increase in over 20 years. UK will have their unemployment rate numbers. We have one earnings, and that's Wix.com. That will be before the open, and that's a software company. On Tuesday, the Euro area, they will have their GDP, as well as their central bank president Lagarde will have a speech. Now in US, as I mentioned, the big news are regarding the retail sales. So watch for that. It will help us with the consumer attitude and seeing that how confident they are about the economy. That we have also industrial production, and the Fed Chair Powell will be speaking. Japan will come up with their GDP, Italy with inflation rate. Again, we go to the housing arena, and China will have housing price index, and UK will come with the inflation rate and their PPI. Now the earnings, this is the biggies. You know, we got the two big ones, Walmart and Home Depot, and JD.com. They will have their numbers before the open. On Wednesday, again, the Eurozone will have their inflation rate CPI, and then South Africa will also have their inflation rate. And again, this is the retail sales that we've been talking about. Canada will have their inflation rate, and US goes with housing starts and building permits, which is again important regarding the health of the economy. Russia will have their GDP, and Australia will come up with unemployment rate. As always, on Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Coast time, we have the crude oil inventories. Now, we have some interesting earnings before the open on Wednesday. It's the Zim Integrated Shipping, Target, Lowe's, TJ Maxx, and that's going to be before the open. And we have Cisco after the close. Now, Cisco was one of the five horsemen they used to call, you know, in late 90s and early 2000. It was huge as far as, again, when we're talking about the internet and communications, and now not many people, I mean, it's still very important, but the CEO would come on TV. That was like the guiding light, and not it's not obviously paid attention as much as it used to be. On Thursday, South Africa will have their interest rate decision, and US will come with their existing home sales. Japan will have their inflation rate, and UK will have their GFK, consumer confidence, as well as, again, retail sales. Thursday, watch the gold trade. Gold is in an important area with their support. So last couple of weeks, it has been challenging for our trades. So, well, let's see if we will have a nice profitable one this week. Earnings before the open, another retail related is Kohl's. Then after the hours, after the close on Thursday, we have Russ Stores, again, another retail stores, as well as Applied Material. So that's, we want to pay attention. And Friday is not a big one. Now, the E stands for the euro, so I will correct that. And it's the euro, and Turkey will have the consumer confidence. As always, at 10 a.m., we have Baker Hughes oil rig count. And then we have the monthly option expiration. So just be aware of that. It's the third Friday of the month. So there will be some activities, some rolls, some closing the positions. So it usually gets a little volatile on those. Not as much as it used to be, because we got all the weeklies, and now even we have dailies on SPX. So that is taken a little bit of importance from monthly option expiration, but regardless, still it's important. So with that in mind, let's wrap it up with our stock of the week. And I have chosen for this week a stock that we had spoken about a couple of months ago, and it is ZIM Integrated Shipping Services, which is in a shipping and logistics services, right? So it does operate a fleet and network of shipping lines offering cargo transportation. So they are based in Israel, and this is one important part of the, as far as the sectors, industrial sectors, the winning part has been basically, when we think about, is the shipping, or marine shipping. So before I go to that, let me just look at this, and then we go back and look at ZIM. You can see, first of all, the black dry index. It shows the activities and the shipping charges. And we are, again, concerned about China. Obviously, it's a really important one, but we can see we bottomed in end of January, and we've had this large activity, despite the fact that there's obviously the European conflict and the China story. So we've had this nice rebound, and we just broke above the 200 moving average. So that's the block dry index. And when we come to actually industries, you see on the industrials, marine shipping out of 24 is the only winner year to date. It's up 15%. So I thought it would be timely to choose one from a stock from the shipping, especially they have their earnings coming up on May 18th. So here we are. They are going to report approximately about 7 a.m., which is a 4 a.m. Pacific Coast time on Wednesday, May 18. Pay attention that although the earnings estimate is at 1265, we want to pay attention to the earning whisper number, which is a little higher. And that's the one the market likes to see that ZIM will beat. The sentiment has been positive, and it has, there's a 66% expecting that there will be earning beat. Now, there's expectation of 100, almost 47%, but while the revenues are decreasing at 42. Basically, some of the shorts have covered their positions, so it's lower by 4.1%. And basically, it is important to see what activities have happened in their options, which I will go a little more deeper. On Friday, May 6th, for instance, there was some notable buying of 1,238 contracts for $75. And remember, and the market, it was much lower and what we look at on Friday, we close at 63.65. So we have a lot of money interest here. And this is for the next month. It's a monthly expiration for June 17th. And again, the option traders are pricing in about 12.1% move on earnings. And the stock has averaged about 5.7% in recent quarters. Now, according to Zach, what it's looking at, again, that 12.65, and we talked about 146.59. Zach's consensus estimate suggests that they're expecting earning of $36.80. So that's huge, because what it does, it brings their PE ratio about 1.59, which is it is much lower than the actually industry average, and the revenues are estimated at $12.59 billion. So we want to look at that. We want to see as far as again, the earnings represents about a reduction of 5.69%, but the revenues of 17.31%. So comparing to the last year, basically Zach ranks these stocks from 1 to 5, 1 being strong buy. In this situation, we have Zim is ranked number 2, which is a buy. Now, in the valuation, as I mentioned, you can see their PE ratio going forward will be at 1.59, and industry average is at 4.13%. Also, it's important, as I mentioned, we want to choose from the transportation area on the shipping side, and they are in the top 14% out of the 250 industries. And as I mentioned, I'm looking at, again, from the macro point of view, a lot of things obviously have been down, and yet the shipping industry is still moving up. So let's take a look at the Zim as far as their chart goes. As you can see, we had a really nice run, and this run was mainly dividend related. They paid $10 of dividends, which is huge, and you can see their dividend projection for 2022 is $19.50, which translates to 30.64% yield. Now, as I mentioned, they are coming on May 18 with their earnings. And what you see, look at these margins. So they have very good margins. Their PE as 1.64. There's always, like, you will see this discrepancy as far as the forward PEs and other things. But after the earnings come out, we will have a little more clarity. And but still, I mean, this is very attractive. You see how the market, as far as the stock bottom. So we've had a nice bounce. We're just passing that the 20-day moving average, and as well as this is important as far as it looks like a descending triangle. We are breaking out, but we're still below that 50-day moving average. So it also could look like an ugly head and shoulder, or reverse inverse head and shoulder here. So we want to pay attention to that from the technical point of view. From Hakinashi, we'll see we are right under the 50-day moving average, but it's nice to see we've had there's two important, the change of color in the candle, and the MACD has stayed above. So we are right on the positive. We'd like to see moving up. The RSI is above 50 and pointing up. So that's a good sign. And so the market is anticipating to see what the earning will be. It said it looks like more positive, but it is also important from the charts that they are looking for maybe more up positive move on this stock. This is from Investor Business Daily charts. And you can see we've been actually basing, as I said, it looks like another very clean, maybe inverse head and shoulder. We really want to break this. We'd like to see accumulation volume above the 50 the moving average, but there's a lot of positive. Their composite rating is 97. Their group RS rating is at A+. The industry staff ranking it's in the top 10, and the RS relative strength rating is at 98. The sales are very strong. Obviously, they have a little bit of beating their earnings. They beat it like 3 times, 3 years in a row. They've had the increase as far as their earnings go, but they've had a couple of times little challenges as far as current year versus last year. But there's a lot of positives, even accumulation, but although it is at C. But remember, we are in many industries, we are actually in a bear market. When we look at from the squeeze point of view, you see we had one squeeze fired. We have about 8 bars already in it, but the color changed after the Friday's move above the 21 exponential moving average. You can see the earnings coming up. The A wave has crossed and it's changed to yellow, and the C wave is also above in a buy zone, not as strong, and the colors are still dark blue, so there's still question mark. And LRC slope is down, but we are in that one standard deviation. You can see we're in a blue candle, and then that's positive as well. So the time high was like $91.23. It was 52 weeks, but I believe also all-time high. So what can we do? Basically, you want to watch what happened on Friday. Again, it was a nice day on Friday. It was almost 7.5% up. So you can see the implied volatility is at 139, 140%. And of course, it goes down after the earnings. So there are a few things you want to look at. We've discussed the calendar, but it was really interesting when we were looking at the Sizzle Index. There was a lot of interest in the ask side of the calls versus the bid side. And there was interest in the bid side of the put. So you can see there was a fresh buy at 400 for June 22 at 75 call again. And that was actually a buy. And it looks like this was a May 22nd selling 60 put, and they're not spread. So there is positiveness. So maybe you could do a debit call spread based on, again, there's $8.21 of expected move. So that will be something to consider. And as you can see, the volatility actually starts going down. So with that in mind, I hope that was helpful, just a food for thought. Look at that huge dividends also. So they've been profitable. So again, I wish you a wonderful week ahead, a profitable and prosperous one. And I look forward to seeing you on Sunday next week. Bye for now.